This is your Sound Off Extra WWE Payback 2017 review. I am the Solomonster. Payback is in the books from the SAP Center in San Jose, California. The Twitter Insta poll results in so far. We'll check back in a little later on in the review, but so far, with 750 votes in, it is 63% thumbs up, 37% thumbs down. So a pretty overwhelmingly positive response so far to this show. For a show that had Braun Strowman beating Roman Reigns clean in the main event. The House of Horrors match, which was really the tale of two worlds for me. I enjoyed the actual horror portion. I know a lot of you seemingly didn't. We'll talk about that later. I did not enjoy the second half of that match nearly as much as the first. We got a really good women's championship match. We got a really good tag team championship match. And a really good cruiserweight championship match. So from where I sit, that makes this a thumbs up show. A show that I had very low expectations for going in. Enzo Amore and Big Cass opened things up on the pre-show against Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Enzo and Cass did a spiel on Chinese food before the match, as I happen to be sitting down eating Chinese food. Chicken and shrimp with cashew nuts, steamed, brown sauce on the side, for those of you who are interested. Very delicious. Enzo sold for much of the match, which is what he does, right? That's kind of his thing. He gets the crap beaten out of him, and he sells and sells and sells, and much of what he does looks ugly. So he sold for much of the match, finally made the hot tag to Big Cass. He came in and ran wild. Anderson and Gallows end up getting Enzo set up for the Magic Killer. Cass runs in, breaks it up, and in the melee here, as Vince McMahon would say, Enzo rolls up Gallows, gets the flash pin for the fluke win. We had actually quite a few fluke wins up and down this card, which I'm not really a big fan of, but we got one here, so Enzo and Big Cass pick up the win. We also had a Miz TV segment with Finn Balor. Miz was appalled that Balor's entrance took 5 minutes, and when he mentioned that, hey, your entrance took 5 minutes, the people cheered. They even started a yes chant. But Miz was very upset about this. All I can say is he better not have Bobby Roode on Miz TV when he comes up to the main roster. He called Balor too small. It sounded like Miz might be one of these YouTube trolls on Tracks or my channel who goes around talking about how small Balor is. He's talking about how small he is, and Balor says, well, you know, I want my Universal Championship back because I never did get a rematch for it, and I got hurt. And Miz mocks him. He says, do you realize who the Universal Champion is right now? It's Brock frickin' Lesnar. And Balor says he's well aware of that fact, and Miz says, well, he'll just break you in half. I'll break you in half. Balor challenges him to a fight. Miz puts Maurice in front of him, and he got some good heat for that. Balor said, you know what, Miz, you're not even worth it. He went to leave, and Miz was talking trash, so Balor came back, hit him with a sling blade and a corner drop kick, and Balor was over here. Crowd was into him. He was talking about the Balor Club, and, you know, Balor's been talking about this Balor Club thing now for, 2 years? 3 years? We have yet to see an actual club, even though he and the club are now on the same show. No club. Pay-per-view opened with Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens for the United States Championship. Jericho, of course, on his way out very shortly. Although, based on the finish here, he's not done just yet. This was the shock finish of the evening, I would say. Jericho winning back the United States Championship just a month after he lost it. Not even a month, I don't think it's been since WrestleMania. He got Owens to tap out in the walls of Jericho in a good match. First time in the walls, Owen got his finger on the rope, Owens did, which was a callback to what happened in their title match at WrestleMania. Jericho got pissed off at this. They were outside the ring. He took Owens' hand. He put that between the ring steps and smashed them. So Owens sold it like his hand was broken back in the ring. He tried for a pop-up power bomb, but just too much pain. Too much pain from the hand. He couldn't do it. And in the corner, Jericho goes after him. And the referee tries to get between them. He's trying to separate them. And in doing so, behind the ref's back, Owens thumbs Jericho right in the eye. And he went for the pin. Jericho kicked out. That's when he got the second walls locked in. Kevin Owens tries to reach for the ropes, almost gets there, but he can't do it because his hand is too hurt. So he taps out, and Kevin Owens no longer the face of America. It also means that Chris Jericho is moving to SmackDown Live, and he's obviously not going to be sticking around for very long. As I mentioned before, he is leaving again. He's got more of his music gigs and tours coming up, and I would actually expect his last date to be SmackDown this Tuesday. I would think that's going to be it for him, which means he's going to have to drop the belt back either to Kevin Owens or to somebody else. And that's a great question, because unless I missed something here, and I'm sure you guys will fill me in if I did, I don't think they said a word about whether or not Kevin Owens is now back on Raw. Is he still on SmackDown? I think the fact that they didn't say anything probably means he's staying on SmackDown, but I don't remember them saying anything, so I'm not quite sure where Kevin Owens is going to be on TV this week. I'm assuming he'll be on SmackDown, but if so, I think he'll get his rematch on Tuesday, and if not, well, I guess that means he can continue his alliance with Samoa Joe on Raw. But very surprised at that finish. I was starting to enjoy the whole Face of America thing. There was a lot of potential there. And hopefully it's just a little bump in the road, and maybe he'll get the belt back on Tuesday. We had Neville and Austin Aries for the Cruiserweight Championship. Frustrating finish to a really good match. I guess it was designed that way. That was kind of the point, to put more heat on Neville. And so I get it. You know, that's fine. Neville, you know, has really settled into the role of heel champion, I think, where people want to see this guy finally get beat. He had the match won, Aries did, after a sunset flip powerbomb to Neville from the top rope, right into a last chancer. I love that whole sequence. He gives him the sunset powerbomb. Neville takes this great bump, flips over onto his stomach, and Aries immediately locks in the last chancery. And Neville is struggling. He's trying to reach for the ropes. He realizes he's not going to make it, so he starts clawing at the referee. And he grabs the referee by the shirt. He throws him down. And that was enough for the referee to call for the DQ. You know, if this were Earl Hebner in the Attitude Era, he'd have shoved Neville back on his ass and allowed the match to continue. But these referees these days are overly sensitive. Everybody is overly sensitive these days. The idea is that Aries had Neville beat. He had the championship won. Neville knew it, so he had to cheat to win. This obviously sets up the rematch. I am all for doing a rematch, and if they do it, I think a Neville-Aries ladder match for the Cruiserweight title would be fantastic if they're looking to add a stipulation. I'm just saying. I think that would be a pretty damn good way to go. We had the Hardys against Sheamus and Cesaro for the Raw Tag Team titles. This thing turned into a war. Sheamus kicked Jeff dead in the face at one point, or caught him with his shin. I'm not quite sure what was the goal here, but he basically kicked him right in the face and legitimately knocked one of Jeff's teeth right out of his mouth. And somewhere in here, Matt then got busted open underneath the eye. I didn't really see how that happened, but he was bleeding under the eye. Later on, we saw his forehead was cut open. There was actually quite a bit of blood on the show. The blood at the end was fake. The blood here, not so much, though, here in this match. Matt was in there with Sheamus. Matt had made the blind tag to Jeff. Sheamus didn't see it. Sheamus gave Matt a power slam. He went for the pin. The referee would not count because Matt was not the legal man. Little did Sheamus know that Jeff was coming off the top rope for a swanton bomb. And one thing I've noticed with Jeff, with the swanton bomb since he came back, and I don't know if he's compensating because he's a little older and maybe he's hurting and it's easier on his body just to land this way, but he lands with all of his weight now. You ever notice that? This time he landed on Sheamus. Sheamus had his back turned, so he landed right on Sheamus's back. But every swanton bomb I've seen Jeff do so far since he came back, he lands on top of his opponent with his full weight. None of this, let me land on, let me catch you with part of my head BS. He just comes crashing down right onto the guy. So he landed on Sheamus. He got the pin. And just like that, the Hardys retained the tag team titles. So yeah, they're going to feel this one in the morning. At least the Hardys will. They took a beating in this match. And as I predicted on the sound-off earlier today when I recorded it, I said the Hardys were my pick to retain. I know it went against conventional wisdom because they won each of the singles matches on TV leading up to this. But I just thought, I don't know. I feel like they're going to retain. And I bet you Sheamus and Cesaro finally turn heel when the match is over. And sure enough, that's exactly what we got here. I could see this thing coming from a mile away. They've been setting this up for weeks with the phony handshakes and everything. I knew you had to know that it was leading to something, and it was leading to this. So the Hardys, they all shake hands. Sheamus and Cesaro leave. Matt and Jeff each take a corner. They're posing with the belts. Sheamus and Cesaro come back down to the ring. They shove them off the ropes, and they beat the crap out of them. Sheamus at one point gave Jeff a brogue kick into the ring post, into the LED post. They brought Matt into the ring. Cesaro's holding Matt. Sheamus gave him a brogue kick. I guess we'll see if that brogue kick is what breaks Matt. You know, again, I talked about this on the podcast earlier. A lot of rumors about WWE maybe reaching a settlement with Anthem. I don't think they have yet, but they will. But I guess we'll see. If Matt shows up tomorrow night on Raw all broken, then we'll have our answer. Some of you were speculating that maybe that's how they would do it. He would get bro kicked in the face, and I guess they could. You know, Matt was laying there. He was all bloody. It must have been a vicious kick, so we'll see what happens tomorrow night. But this is really good. I thought the match was really good. It was very physical. And the post-match stuff, I thought the way they did it was great. I thought the turn was great, so thumbs up. We had Bayley and Alexa Bliss for the Raw Women's Championship. Big hometown ovation for Bayley here in San Jose. They had a really good match. Alexa's best match since coming to the main roster. Actually, I would say it's probably Alexa's best match ever, counting NXT, because I can't think of a really great match that she had there that was better than this. So this was Alexa's best match. The one thing I noticed is that Alexa and Becky Lynch on SmackDown never really seemed to have good chemistry together. In this match, Alexa and Bayley, I thought, had great chemistry. I thought they worked very well together. There was no sloppiness or awkward spots or hesitation or anything like that. They worked very well together. I picked Bayley to retain. I did. Got that one wrong. But I knew I was going against my better judgment with this being in Bayley's hometown. I was going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, well, you know, maybe the timing's not right and it's her hometown and I should have known better. Should have known better. The streak continues. They took the championship from Bayley in San Jose. She had Alexa pinned. Alexa kicked out. In doing so, Bayley kind of was thrown and head first, she struck the bottom part of the post. Alexa ends up winning clean in the middle with a DDT. Alexa Bliss thus becomes the first woman, not Charlotte, which also surprises me, to win both the SmackDown Women's Championship and the Raw Women's Championship. And it is well deserved. Alexa has been a revelation since coming to the main roster. And she's getting better every time, you know, on the microphone, in the ring. She's getting better as time goes on. You know, the story was always that when she was in the Performance Center, they used to call her Baby Trish because she just looked a lot like a young Trish Stratus. She keeps improving at this rate. You know what? As young as she is, early 20s or mid-20s, whatever she is now, she could end up being a lot better than Trish was before all is said and done. And Charlotte, you know, Charlotte is already on her way to becoming one of the best of all time. I won't call her the best yet. I mean, she hasn't really been around for that long, but Charlotte is certainly among the best. She's just, you know, the total package in terms of athleticism. She's had her fair share of really good matches. I mean, the championships are what they are. It's all part of the gimmick. But when all is said and done, I have a feeling Charlotte will be positioned. She will be looked at probably as the greatest of all time. They'll make a big deal. But really, she's not too far off. I mean, Charlotte is very good already, and she's only been doing this for a few years. Point is, I look at her, I look at Sasha, I look at Alexa, and, you know, and Becky, and they have a lot of really talented women on these rosters, on these Raw and SmackDown rosters. You could even go to NXT, and you see Asuka and some of the women they have down there. Plus, they have this women's tournament coming up soon. I think it's an exciting time if you're a fan of women's wrestling. If you're not a fan of women's wrestling, then you don't give a crap. But if you are a fan of women's wrestling, I don't know that there has been a better period in the history of this company in terms of pure talent than what they have right now. Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton in a House of Horrors match. This was quite the spectacle. This was the writer's chance to do a Broken Hardy final deletion type of match. You know they're all fans of that stuff. At the time there were stories that all of the writers on the writing team had watched Final Deletion. They were all big fans of it. I totally buy into that. I believe that. I mean, if you're a creative writer, you live for this shit, right? You don't want to be worried about boring wrestling matches. This is the kind of stuff that you live for, because this is what gives you a chance to actually get your creative juices flowing. And not everybody is going to be a fan of this. Some people will, some people won't. The Final Deletion, in TNA, I was a big fan of that. I know not everybody was, but I was a big fan of the stuff from the Hardy compound and all that jazz. And the question here was, can WWE pull something similar off? All we knew is that House of Horrors. They never really told us anything other than the fact that it was going to start in a House of Horrors and it was going to end in the ring. We didn't know what form it would take, if it was going to be live, if it was going to be taped. Is it going to be an actual house? Is it going to be in the boiler room? We didn't know. Now, doesn't explain how the match was supposed to be live, and it was 6:30 out in California, yet it was pitch black outside. That was quite the leap in logic. Someone on Twitter, by the way, found a Zillow listing for what appears to be the house that they used here for this match. And the house wasn't even in California. It was in Richmond, Missouri. They were in Kansas City for Raw last Monday, so that tells me they probably taped this thing a week ago. And I'm looking at the listing here. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 1,400 square feet. It's not on the market at the moment, but they have the price listed here as $56,000. So there's some inside info for you. Want your own House of Horrors, $56K, cough it up. This is what I did. Okay, and if you haven't watched the match yet, this is how I would advise that you watch it or how you watch it. It's already dark outside. I wouldn't advise watching this in the daytime, but I turned the lights out, so it's all dark in here. I sat back, and I enjoyed it for what it was. I checked my brain at the door, which I knew in order to try to enjoy this thing, I was going to have to do that anyway, because you knew there was going to be a lot of stupid stuff in here. So I just turned the lights out, and I watched it and took it for what it was. Now, I also enjoy cheesy horror movies. I enjoy, good horror movies as well. But like really cheesy ones or ones from the 80s, like B-level horror films, like I'm a sucker for that. Not everybody is going to be the audience for a match like this. I get it. But I've really soured on this feud. How ungodly boring it has been ever since Randy Orton turned on Bray Wyatt. This thing peaked weeks before WrestleMania. It never recovered. I thought the match at WrestleMania sucked. I didn't like that at all. Thankfully, we didn't get. They weren't in the ring, so I guess they couldn't do it. But we didn't get those cheesy effects like we did at WrestleMania with the projected image on the mat. That was dumb. Hopefully, they never do that again. So I really turned on this feud a while ago. And I have just been begging for them to do something different and something interesting to try to get me back into this. I was actually kind of happy when I found out that they were being drafted to 2 different shows, because it meant that this feud was going to come to an end and we wouldn't have to deal with this for another 2-3 months. So I was happy. For that reason alone, I was happy. This was the most entertaining thing that they have done in months with these 2 guys. I enjoyed it. I may be in the minority based on the response I saw on Twitter, but I enjoyed this. The first half. I'll get to the second half later. But I enjoyed the first half in the actual house for what it was. Now, I can't say the same for the crowd in San Jose. I got tweet after tweet from people in the arena saying that people hated this with a passion. They were booing. They crapped all over it. They were on their phones. They got up to go take a leak. Thankfully, they had enough sense to cut the crowd noise out for this thing. Kevin Dunn and his crew there, because they love, like with backstage promos and stuff, to let the crowd noise, the ambient noise be there. And sometimes that's fine and you need that. Other times, I don't need to hear the crowd doing the what chant or booing or heckling or hissing and all that kind of stuff. So they cut the crowd noise out. This was all pre-produced. Again, I'm sure they taped this a week ago. It started with Randy Orton sitting shirtless in the back of a limousine, arriving at some random house in the middle of nowhere. This was pre-produced with scary music and all these different editing and effects. Very impressive for what was supposed to be a live match. Again, forget the fact that it was dark outside and they're supposed to be in California. Like I said, check your brain at the door, because if you let little things like that bother you, then this whole match is going to annoy the crap out of you. But again, it was like something out of a cheesy horror movie. Orton very slowly, he's looking through the windows. He sees Bray on the inside. He goes into the house, and it's all dark, and it's empty and desolate and spooky. And Bray attacks him from behind, and they brawl around. It was like a scene out of a Halloween movie or something. And they brawl into different rooms in the house. Bray kind of disappears, and Orton goes to look for him, and then Bray reappears. Orton goes into a room with dolls that are hanging from the ceiling. And instead of looking for Bray or moving into the next room, of course, Orton is an idiot. So what does he do? He pulls down one of the dolls, and he's staring at the doll, and then he gets his ass kicked from behind for not paying attention. They end up in the kitchen at one point. Orton's beating the hell out of Bray. They end up on the floor. Okay, so Orton hurt his arm earlier in the match. I think he got thrown through a lamp or something. He's holding his arm. Bray has just the crap beaten out of him. Orton is punching him and punching him and punching him. And the one thing I could have done without was the added sound effects. I don't really think that was necessary. That also kind of annoys me when Lucha Underground does that. But this was like a WWE version of something, not just Final Deletion, but something that you would see on an episode of Lucha Underground. Very overproduced. Something out of a movie or a sci-fi novel or something like that. This was the WWE version of that. Again, I could have done without the sound effects, but he was punching Bray in the head. So now they're both laying on the floor. You know, I even joked because there were a bunch of memes already online with pictures of Orton and Bray laying on the floor. And Bray's wearing like a wife beater, like this dirty wife beater. And it's like, you see these two laying on the floor in the kitchen in this mess of a house. And it's like, you know, when the drugs kick in, when the meth kicks in. That's kind of what it looked like. The house portion ended with Bray pushing a giant refrigerator over on top of Randy Orton. And if I was disappointed in anything, it was that I wanted more from this. I was kind of hoping they would brawl outside the house, like in the garden, in the backyard, all through the neighborhood. Maybe you would have somebody standing in the background with a Michael Myers mask. I think that would have been kind of cool. Just go all the way with this, you know what I mean? But they didn't do that. He pushed the fridge over onto Orton, and that was it. Bray stumbled out of the house. He went into the limousine, and he told the driver, "Take me to the arena." And that was the end of the actual House of Horrors portion of the match. I think they could have done even more with it. I mean, shit, Final Deletion, they had Roman candles and pyro and explosions and dilapidated boats and lakes of reincarnation. I mean, for God's sakes, this was no Final Deletion, but again, I enjoyed it for what it was, and I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than I did the second half, which we'll get to after this next match, because they cut back to the arena, and then we went right into Samoa Joe against Seth Rollins. And they had an okay match. I got to be honest with you, I was kind of half paying attention to it. I was still kind of thinking back in my mind over what we had just seen in the match before. And, I mean, the crowd was into this, but I also think that they probably suffered a little bit because that crowd live in the building apparently turned on that match, you know, the House of Horrors match. And I do wonder if it took them out of this match maybe a little bit. It's not like they were dead or anything like that, but this Joe Rollins match really just didn't have any juice to it at all. It was just kind of a match that was there, sandwiched in the middle of everything. It just never really seemed to get out of second gear. The focus became Seth Rollins' knee, which it makes for good psychology, but it could also make for a very dull match, which I thought it did here. It feels like this guy's knee is never going to recover. He's going to have this storyline knee injury for the rest of his career. He'll be like D'Lo with the chest protector. He'll always just go after Seth's knee, and he'll never recover from it. So the focus was on his knee, and Seth would try certain things, but he couldn't put weight on the knee. He tried to pick Joe up at one point, but fell down. He was going for a buckle bomb. And Joe gets the coquina clutch on Rollins. Rollins did the old Bret Hart, Roddy Piper, or Bret Hart, Steve Austin deal, whichever you want to use, where he kind of kicks off the ropes in the corner, falls backwards, almost got the pin, but Joe kicked out. Joe got the choke on again, but this time Rollins sort of threw him over, and in doing so, he cradled Joe over for the pin. So Joe still had the choke in, but he was now being covered by Rollins, and he couldn't kick out in time. And so Seth Rollins got the pin. And it was a finish that really didn't accomplish anything other than, I presume, keep the feud going. Rollins, to me, it's not a finish that makes Seth Rollins look strong. It looks like he lucked out. He got a fluke win. It doesn't make Joe look strong, but he also wasn't decisively beaten, right? So it was just a fluky thing. I thought the finish was flat to a match that just never really got out of second gear. So now back to the arena for the last leg of the House of Horrors match. Limo pulls up, Bray Wyatt gets out. I thought for sure Orton was going to be the driver. That never happened. So Bray gets out, he stumbles into the arena, and they give him a full entrance. That was weird. The guy should have stumbled all the way to the ring. But no, they give him the full entrance, lantern and everything. So I thought that was kind of dumb. He gets in the ring, but I guess it played into what they wanted to do here. So he gets in the ring, he blows out the lantern, the lights come on, and there's Randy Orton. And for a split second, I thought, holy shit, they're going to just have Orton RKO him and pin him. And I would have laughed. I'm not going to lie. I'm no fan of Bray Wyatt always losing in these big matches, but I would have laughed my ass off because that would have been such a WWE move. Thankfully, for Bray, that didn't happen. But Orton did beat the piss out of him with a steel chair. Orton had a chair. He just beat Bray with it over and over again. He took him outside. He gave him a draping DDT off the announce table onto the floor. He puts Bray in the ring. All of a sudden, the Singh brothers show up. The Bollywood boys. They attack Orton. He dispatches them quickly. Jinder Mahal now comes in. He's got the WWE Championship that he stole from Orton on SmackDown last week. He clobbers Orton with the championship, hits him a second time in the shoulder. That was kind of stupid. I don't know if that was mistimed or what, but he hits Orton in the shoulder with the belt, and Bray immediately grabs Orton, lays him out with the Sister Abigail, and gets the pin. It puts heat on the Orton-Jinder match for Backlash, so I know why they did it, but I was very disappointed that they did not go with my idea. And not just because it was my idea, but because I genuinely think it was a good idea, and I'd still like to see them do this. But my idea was to have Bo Dallas interfere. All you're really doing is trading one jobber for another. You're trading Bo Dallas for Jinder Mahal, but if you do it with Bo Dallas, he interferes, he helps give Bray the win. They're both on Raw, right? Jinder's not on Raw. Jinder has nothing to do with any of this. I just really want to see WWE put the two of them together finally. Get a new Wyatt family started. Look, if Jinder frickin' Mahal is getting a main event push and Breezango is getting a tag team title push on SmackDown, there's no reason they can't be doing something with Brother Bo on Raw. Now that he and Bray are finally on the same brand. Hopefully they'll come to their senses and actually do something with those two at some point. But I was kind of hoping they would do that here. Leave the Jinder stuff for SmackDown. He stole the belt last week. He didn't have to be here on this show. You got 3 more weeks to come up with your own ideas on how to put heat on that match on SmackDown. But they felt they had to do it here, so it is what it is. Not a fan of the second half of this match. In fact, I think it pretty well sucked. But again, I just think in terms of the actual House of Horrors stip, this is not going to be something where you're in between. You're either in the camp of, it was so bad it was good, so I enjoyed it, or that was the worst thing I've ever seen. And I got some tweets saying that this was the worst pile of crap I've ever seen. I beg to differ. I've seen far worse from this company. Think of all of the garbage, okay, that this company has given us over the years. This was far from the worst. Let's not get carried away here. And if you didn't enjoy this match, let's not forget that these are the people who will soon have control over the broken universe, who will soon have control over the broken Hardy stuff. So if you hated this match with a passion, but you are one of these people who has been begging WWE to buy the rights from Anthem to the broken stuff and you just want to see Matt Hardy be broken again, these are the same people who will soon have control over the broken universe. So just remember that. But I like this, so sue me. Main event was Roman Reigns against Braun Strowman. This was, I believe, Braun Strowman's first official pay-per-view main event. Hopefully the first of many. I think he's earned it. I cannot think of another giant, another big guy like himself at his size who came in as green as he was, got promoted as quickly as he did, unprepared, to the main roster in WWE, who has improved as quickly as he has. So in my view, he deserves this. The only other person I can think of, and this is WCW, not WWE, but the only other person I could think of is Big Show. You know, when he came into WCW as the Giant, I mean, his very first match was a pay-per-view main event against Hulk Hogan. But he was, he was very athletic for a guy his size. I don't remember people, thinking he sucked. The guy was a freak of nature. He was a legitimate giant who was doing kip-ups, and he used to do stuff off the top rope. I think at one point he was doing moonsaults, and they told him to stop. It might have been Hogan who kind of smartened him up one day and said, dude, you're a giant. You should not be doing stuff like that. Stop. So Big Show would be the only other person I could think of who would fit that description. In WWE, I can't think of anyone else. I think Braun is the only person that I could think of at his size who came in green as a goose. What does Steve Austin say? Green as goose shit, right? That's the expression. He didn't really ever debut on NXT. He was a friggin' rosebud. He made a few cameos here and there, but it wasn't like he had any sort of NXT run. He went right to the main roster. Wasn't particularly good at first, if you remember the early days of Braun Strowman as part of the Wyatt family. And it's really, how long has it been? A year and a half? And look at where he is now. He's come a long way. He is not your typical, big guy that just does bear hugs and is very boring and dull. He goes in there and he busts it, and he's very entertaining, and he's always getting better and improving, and so I hope to see him in more main events. Massive boos for Roman Reigns when he came out. Big surprise, I know. There were some people who emailed me thinking, well, maybe Roman will get a more positive response. His brother just passed away. Maybe, people will have sympathy for him. I told, as I emailed to somebody, I said, you're out of your freaking mind if you think that's going to matter. And it didn't. He came out, he got booed. He was all wrapped up like a mummy under his vest. His ribs were taped up. His shoulder was taped up. So fast forward here, they're having a match. It's really similar to the match they had back at Fastlane. Roman hits a spear. Braun kicks out. Didn't really expect that to be the finish anyway. It kind of came out of nowhere. But some people bought into it. Braun kicks out. Multiple Superman punches. I think 2 of them he hit. Strowman then hits the running power slam, which is his finish. Roman kicks out. He can't believe it. He goes, he hits a second one, and he gets the clean pin right in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3. Fans chant, "Thank you, Strowman," at this. He grabs the ring steps from outside, tosses them over the top rope into the ring. He drops Roman Reigns. So he puts the steps, he kind of sets them up vertically, standing up. He picks up Roman Reigns over his shoulder. He drops Roman ribs first across the steps. He then hoists the ring steps up high into the air, drops them straight down on Roman's ribs. Roman comes up bleeding from the mouth. I didn't see him pop the capsule, but obviously he did at some point. So now he's bleeding from the mouth. They're talking about, oh my God, he's got internal injuries. This is awful. They're playing it up as a really serious injury angle. More loud "Thank you, Strowman" chants. None of this was getting any sympathy for Roman. This poor bastard. Strowman was like the conquering hero as he walked out here. He got practically a standing ovation here from these people out in San Jose. Michael Cole on commentary was very upset. No EMTs were coming out to help Roman. You had Fit Finlay and Adam Pearce and maybe one other agent, maybe Jamie Noble or somebody. They were out there. No EMTs, no medics. Finally, eventually they showed up with a stretcher after Roman had already walked down the aisleway all on his own power. Apparently, the EMTs are also no fan of Roman Reigns. They let this guy suffer. And the pay-per-view goes off the air with Roman, ever the valiant babyface, refusing medical help. He's not getting on the gurney. He's not getting on there. It's not happening. They fade to black. I don't know how many people tuned out at that point, but the show wasn't over. So they immediately come back. They're going to have their post-show Raw talk with Renee Young and Jerry Lawler. But before they go to them, we go backstage. We see Roman Reigns in the hallway backstage. He's literally spitting blood on the wall. He's painting the walls with his blood. They bring him to the ambulance. They're about to load him into the ambulance. And in the most unintentionally comedic moment of the night, far more comedic than anything in that Randy Orton-Bray Wyatt match, we hear Braun Strowman, his shriek from off-screen, from off-camera. We can't even see him. We just hear him. And he goes, "I'm not finished with you!" And he comes charging in from off-camera. Roman sidesteps him, and Braun runs right through one of the ambulance doors. He knocks the door off the hinges. He crashes into a wall of boxes. It's like they couldn't help themselves. They did the serious injury angle on the pay-per-view. They put Braun Strowman over like a monster to be taken seriously, not somebody to be messed with. Somebody, for example, that you would take seriously in a match against Brock Lesnar. And they just could not help themselves. Roman is in the back. It was like something out of a cartoon. He just steps out of the way, and Braun just barrels through the door and crashes into these boxes. I laughed my ass off. I shouldn't be laughing at this. This is supposed to be a serious angle. And they did this nonsense that they should not have done. That last segment was just completely unnecessary. It was on the post show. I'm hoping that most people missed it. But they're just going to replay it 1,000 times tomorrow night. So everybody's going to see it. I just thought it was really dumb. It was like they were trying to give Roman some of his heat back. It's like they're so afraid. You know what I mean? I thought they did a fine job all those weeks ago when he practically killed Roman on Raw, and they just left it alone. You were left with the impression that Braun was the scariest monster in the world. Here it's like, oh, we gotta try to get Roman some of his heat back. I have an idea. Let's have Braun Strowman run himself into a frickin' wall of boxes. It's like, what a bunch of morons. So yeah, that was very dumb. But now, Braun Strowman has a clean win over Roman Reigns. I presume there'll be one more match between them because now they're one apiece. If you remember, Roman won the match of Fastlane. Braun won this one. I don't know what the next Raw pay-per-view would be. I don't think it's that Great Balls of Fire BS. I think there's one before that. I think. I could be wrong. So either in, I guess that would be early June, there may be a Raw pay-per-view. I'm not sure. I know the pay-per-view in mid-June is Money in the Bank. I know that's a SmackDown show. I'm just presuming that there will be a rubber match between these two. And I'm assuming that Brock Lesnar's next opponent for the Universal title is going to be Braun Strowman on that July 9th show. At least I hope so. I'd like for them to try to hold off until SummerSlam, but I don't know if they could wait that long. But I presume we're getting that match very soon, and I look forward to that. I'm actually looking forward to seeing... I'm hoping it's not just Brock suplexing Braun 10 times and pinning him. I would like to see a competitive match between the two because it's not very often that we get to see Brock Lesnar in the ring with somebody as big or bigger than him. Most of the time he's facing guys who are smaller. Well, this time he'd be in the ring with somebody who's even bigger than he is. So I'd like to see a smash mouth, knockdown, drag out fight between them before Brock wins. That's what I want to see. Hopefully they have plans to do something special. So that was Payback. Like I said, overall, I can't give the show a thumbs down. How could I? I mean, there were a lot of really good matches. Braun, in the end, got the win, as he should have. They did the right thing despite that BS on the post show. So to me, this is a thumbs-up show. And in fact, if we go back now and check the Instapoll, I believe when I started, we were around 750 votes. We are now over 1,200 votes in, and the total continues to grow for thumbs up. It's now 64% thumbs up, 36% thumbs down. So there's still plenty of time left to vote if you have not already done so, but it's looking pretty good so far for this show. Overall thumbs up. Don't forget, if you want to take advantage of our Audible link, the Sound Off, we are offering a trial of the Audible service free for 30 days. If you use our link, audibletrial.com/Solomonster, you can get yourself one free audio book. Even if you cancel the trial so you don't get billed, you get to keep your free book. A lot of people have been cashing in on the new AJ Lee book, AJ Mendez. Crazy is my superpower, so you can go on Audible right now using our link and cash in, get your free book, audibletrial.com/Solomonster. Follow me on Twitter, @Solomonster is my handle. We will be back very soon with a brand new Sound Off Extra here on the official YouTube channel for the Sound Off, so if you are not already subscribed, please be so kind as to hit the subscribe button. I am the Solomonster. I will be back very soon. Until next time, be well, stay safe, and we will see you right back here on YouTube again very soon. Take care, guys.